Welcome to Silence the Podcast with Daisha Selena.
Hey guys, and welcome to episode 2 of Silence the Podcast. Before we get into anything, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all of the love and support that I received on episode 1. As maybe if some of you have been able to pick up on, I really made this podcast on such short notice. I did have a podcast with someone else, but we'll get into that later. Thank you so much for starting this journey with me and for reaching out and unfortunately telling me that you went through the same exact thing I experienced in my high school. All that matters is we're here now. I'm here to tell you about how my experience at Yale has been going. It hasn't been terrible. I'm going to preface this by saying it really hasn't been terrible, but there's a lot of things that we have to get into. The freshman 15, men at Yale, my disastrous friendships that I had so far. You know, the little childish beef, immaturity, that doesn't stop when you leave high school, unfortunately. My living situation with my sweet mates, how the relationship with my parents has changed since I've been here. First of all, I'm going to speak about how I prepared for Yale over the summer, because I did go through like a preparation process because I didn't want to go into this blindly. Like, I really wanted to be prepared and I wanted to have like my head on straight for when I got to Yale. Over the summer, I went through like a self-reflection period where I was just analyzing all the people in my life, the current state of my life, my relationship with myself, things I really liked about myself, things I wanted to change about myself, and just my overall like why of like, you know, what I'm going to Yale to do. My goal was to see and really examine who I wanted to take with me into this next chapter, because I already know like this is not like high school where it's not challenging, it's not hard for me, so I could be messed up about a fallout with a friend, or I could be messed up about a situation with an ex and still, you know, go to school, excel. Like, I just knew it wasn't going to be like that. So I really wanted to reevaluate my circle, and unfortunately like 2 or 3 people had to go. It was not really unfortunate because I really like to look at things, this is happening for me and not it's happening to me. So like all the relationships and the friendships that had to go, it was happening and I made those choices to help me in the long run, so that I'm not stressing or like bringing bad thoughts, negative energy, things that should have been cut off into my new chapter of life into here with me. Self wise, I had multiple honest conversations with myself, and I was like, look, what do you want out of this experience? Having a purpose and having a goal when going into something is really gonna be helpful, because when things get hard, when the going gets tough, when you're struggling, when all of that is going on, you're gonna be able to remember your why, and you're gonna remember why you're here and why you're doing it. My why for why I'm going to college in general is because I want to be an attorney, a practicing attorney at that, a criminal defense attorney at that. And obviously with the name and the education that I hope to get from the school is going to go a long way for my future, and not only just be an attorney but also psychology. Right now my major is philosophy with a concentration in psychology. I want to learn how to think more abstractly and critically, and, you know, be more intuitive, because I'm already an intuitive person. Like, I ask a lot of questions. I want to know the why behind everything. The mental health side, I take mental health very seriously. It's something that's been in my family. It's something that has impacted me personally throughout the years, my friends that has impacted. So I really want to understand on the psychological side, like why people do the things they do, and some kind of way I'm gonna mesh them together, not only defending people that look like me in the legal system, but also understanding their mental health and like how their brain functions. I wanted to get a clearer understanding of the type of things and the people I want in my life. I kid y'all not, I have a note in my phone. I have non-negotiables for friendships on that note. I have non-negotiables for relationships on that note. I wanted to challenge myself to be more open. I'm kind of closed off to relationships and like friendships and all of that, because you never know people's intentions for you. Like, you never know if they're coming in your life to propel you, to get you to the next level, to help you, to be there for you, or if they're just coming in your life to like take your focus off and just add negative energy, bad vibes and all of that. So me making that list and outlining the qualities I'm looking for in a friendship, the qualities I'm looking for in a relationship, and the qualities where I'm not negotiating about, just because I know that's gonna maximize the success of who I have around me. So that's what I did all summer. I didn't really do nothing fun between the summer of my senior year and coming to Yale. I just worked. It wasn't like I had to work. Like, my parents didn't force me like get up and have a job and all that extra stuff. I wanted to work because, one, I wanted to understand what it felt like to have my own money, make my own money, be able to spend what I want when I want. And also I wanted to be able to, have a little money in my pocket for when I first got to Yale when I first moved. Luckily, friends and family, they maxed out my Amazon wish list. And surprisingly, my mom and my dad, they didn't have to buy anything. People sent gift cards with hundreds of dollars on it. People were buying 10s and 11, 12 items on the list. So by the time the end of August came and it was time for me to go to Yale, everything was already brought for me. My parents had to buy like little stuff when I actually got to Yale, like my fridge, because I didn't want to buy that before I went and then have to lug that big thing in the car. Now let's get into how I felt when I first got to campus. If I was to say any word besides overwhelmed, I would literally be lying to you, because when I first got to that campus, it felt like my entire life was before me, in a good and a bad way, because it felt like, bro, all the hard work I've been putting in for the past few years is finally coming to fruition. Like, it's finally happening. Because when you're working so hard and you're getting these good grades and you're going to school every day and you're showing up and you have all these extra activities that you're doing after school and you have all these awards, it kind of makes you feel like a machine sometimes. Like, it just makes you feel like you're working, and you're not really seeing like the grand scheme of things. Obviously you're seeing the good grades and you're seeing the awards and little like pats on the backs and like good jobs from your teachers and friends, but at the end of the day, you're not really seeing like the bigger picture. At least I wasn't seeing the bigger picture. So the fact that I was on Yale's campus as a student, not a tourist, not a prospective student, not a high school just going on a school tour with hopes and dreams of getting accepted. Like, no, I was actually the big fish. Like, I was actually a student here. So I was just so overwhelmed, because it's like, bro, like, I've made it this far. Like, I have to keep going. I've been in school for now 13 years, bro. From kindergarten all the way until my freshman year at Yale, I've been in school for 13 years. So it's kind of getting overwhelming. It's kind of getting tiring, especially with like all the responsibilities that come with being a student here. I don't know, like when I first got to the campus, I was just so grateful, but also, like I said, overwhelmed, because it's like, okay, like this is real life now. Like, this is not high school, this is not elementary school, this is not junior high school. Like, no, this is real life. This is what I've been working towards my entire life, and it's time to, do my biggest one. One of Yale kids' favorite like terminology is impostor syndrome, because that's another accurate description to describe how you're gonna feel when you first get to Yale. This is a different playing field now. Like, no shade to the people in my high school, but like, let's keep it a buck. Like you guys know, I was a valedictorian, if you watched episode 1 of this podcast. So I was the biggest fish in that school, and I'm not even trying to be cocky, like, no shade, because obviously there was very brilliant kids in my high school that, all jokes aside, I feel like if my school gave them a little bit more push and if they believed in themselves a little bit more, they would literally be right next to me at Yale. So now I'm going into a whole different pond with fishes that are way bigger than me in terms of education, in terms of privilege, in terms of like money, like all aspects. I'm no longer the top dog no more. So one, that was kind of like, something to get used to. That was kind of like a shock. But then on top of that, the accolades of the people in my class at Yale, and just people at Yale in general, like, they have their own nonprofit organizations, they have their own, like, they started their own clubs, they have their own websites, like, they've just done so much for their life. They have like national awards, they've met presidents and all of that, and just the amount of things that they've done in their lifetime. Like, yes, I know my resume is fire. Like, I know I did what I could in high school with the resources and opportunities that I had like available to me, but these people have done some remarkable things to be the same age as me, and that's kind of intimidating to me in a good way. My father always told me that if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room, and I feel like I was in the wrong room for so long. So the fact that I'm around all these people with all of this knowledge and information that they can offer me and I could actually learn from, it feels very rewarding, but a little bit intimidating at the same time, if I'm gonna be honest. Now I'm gonna get into the nitty gritty of like what my time has been here. After I moved in, after, I settled in and the classes have started, academically, I rated like a 7 out of 10. Socially, I rated like a 4 out of 10. Mentally, and how my mental health has been while I've been here, I rated like a 5 out of 10. Physically, I rated like a 6 out of 10. So as you can see, like, where I'm going with this, it hasn't been the best experience so far. It hasn't been nothing that I anticipated it to be. So let's just start academically. I'm just gonna come out and say it. My high school did not prepare me, and some things are my high school's fault 100%, but other things is not really, and I think it's the education system fault, because the way high schools are set up, like, they just structurally and fundamentally don't prepare you for when you're going like beyond high school. Having a 7:30 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. day to a 3:30 p.m. or 4 o'clock day, like school day. That's just not realistic. That's not how college is. And then having to sit through all of those classes, like 4 or 5 classes a day, like that's just not what college is. And on top of that, like someone else making your schedule and you having no say. At least that's how it was at my high school. Like I didn't have a say in what classes I took. Maybe the electives, maybe, but even then that wasn't guaranteed that like I could actually have control over my own schedule and my own education. So that like aspect of high school, that's nothing like how Yale is now. But then also academically, I feel like I'm behind. I'm not too proud or I'm not too prideful to say that, because I genuinely do feel like I don't know what went wrong, but somewhere down the line, I don't know if it was high school, I don't know if it was middle school, I don't know if it was elementary school, but I just missed fundamental and like foundational knowledge that I'm now seeing where the gaps are. And it's like, I've been in school for 13 years. There's no way I should feel this, like, not behind, but there's no way I should feel this, like, shocked at the education I'm receiving at Yale. And that's a little frustrating, because it's like, what was I doing all of this time? I have maybe a handful of teachers that actually taught and they actually knew what they were doing. The rest of them, like, it's just like they hired them off eBay. Like, no shade, because at the end of the day, like, I still have a lot of respect for them. But still, it's like, why is the last, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not academically prepared or up to par from where I'm supposed to be on Yale's like level. And obviously that is something that's expected, you know, because it's like, okay, like this is a whole new world. We're all doing this for the first time. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but this shouldn't feel this new to me. The workload isn't even that bad. It's different from high school because, like I said, you're having full high school days. And then if you choose to be like involved in school or involved in your community, then you're doing extracurricular activities after school. And then you're getting home mad late and you still have to do homework on top of all of that. And even my high school, the workload was like nothing compared to what I have to do at Yale. I was getting 10, 20 pages of reading, like homework wise, a night. Here I have 100 pages a day. Like that high school stuff, that's nothing compared to what I'm having to do now. Let's be for real. If I was getting 100 pages a night of homework in high school, and then I was still having to do extracurriculars and all of that extra stuff on top of it to like build my college application, I would not be here right now. Like that's just too much for one person. At Yale, most of my days end at 12:50. I'm only taking 1 class a day or 2 classes a day. My heaviest day is Thursdays, where I take 3 classes, and even then I'm done by 3:20, and I have breaks in between my class. And then on top of that, I live on campus, so like it's not like I have to travel and commute an hour home every day on the train, in the bus, because I'm literally walking 10 minutes to my dorm. So how I plan my time and what I do with my time when I'm not in class is 100% up to me. And I can say I've been doing really well with that. Like, it's not like I'm missing assignments or I don't have to pull like all-nighters because I procrastinated a due date or whatever. Like, no, my time management skills are well. And that's just because I have way more time and way more free time on my hands than what I did in high school. But the workload isn't bad. It's just the content and the material that we're learning is much more sophisticated. And even my classmates, like, they're brilliant, very intelligent, very smart. We're all coming from different backgrounds, different education levels, different high schools. So it's like you can see where the gaps are between everyone's knowledge. And it's kind of like, damn. Like, if only I was more equipped, or if only I had these type of teachers, or if only I went to this type of school, I would be good right now. And the reality is, like, I'm not good right now. And I'm not struggling. Like, I'm not failing in no class. I don't have no bad grade. Like, I'm not on the border of getting kicked out. Like, it's not nothing that extreme. But I did get my first B. I took it better than I expected, I'm not going to lie. Because over the summer, I was also preparing myself for the academic, like, shift I was going to feel. Because I already knew that, like, I was cooked. I already knew that how I was getting, like, hundreds on everything in high school, I already knew that was not realistic for, like, Yale specifically. And I already knew, like, that's not what should have been happening in high school. I'm not going to lie, I do take accountability for why I was getting all these hundreds and straight A pluses and all of this in high school. Because I'm, like, when my teachers gave me anything less than a 98 or something, I was having conversation like, oh, what's that about? Like, why'd you take a point off for this? Like, I was real nitpicky about my grades because I already knew that I'm not playing with y'all. Like, I'm not trying to go to some college in New York City up the street, community college. And there's no shade to communities like schools at all, but that's just not what I saw for myself. So I was not about to play with them. Like, you're not about to just be giving me 90s and 80s and all this extra stuff just for the hell of it. Like, no, I'm gonna get the grades that I deserve. point blank period. I could have been a little bit more chill. I could have let them give me like feedback. I could have been a little bit more receptive to the feedback. But you have to understand, this was tunnel vision. This was my goal of getting to a prestigious school, making a name for myself, and being successful. So me accepting BS grades that I know I did not deserve, or me accepting anything less of a 97, like that just wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to be. So I really had to lock in, and I had to make sure these teachers knew I was not playing with them. And that kind of contributed to why I was flying through high school with A's and A's and A's and hundreds and 99s and 98s. My lowest grade on my high school transcript was a 94. In the long run, like, it didn't really help me, because now I'm in the real world. Now I'm actually in like real college, and I'm seeing it's not that easy at all. Like, in no way, shape, or form is not that easy. When I got my first B, I thought I was going to take it way more harder, because I'd never gotten a B in my life. And that's not even to flex, because obviously that just points out the problem. And like I said, I'm not trying to shit on them. I'm not trying to throw shade to them, because at the end of the day, it got me to where I am. But that's just the reality of the situation. B, like, I don't give B. Like, I never gave B. I never had a B. I don't want to be. Like, that's just not my thing. But when I started getting, my first B's on like assignments, and it wasn't like low B's or where it was like almost a C, like it wasn't on that level. It was a calm, like little 89 or 85 or whatever the case may be. Or some teachers in college, they don't even give you like the number. They just tell you like the letter grade of what you would get. And it was hard at first, because it scares you a little bit, because it's like, damn, like I'm not as hot as I thought I was. But in actuality, I was hot shit for where I was at the time, and I would just have a lot of work to do to like get on the Yale level, and to make sure that my grades, like make sure I keep on my grades and all of that. It's been stressful, and it's been affecting my mental health slightly, because it's like, damn, like I said, like if only I had went to this school, or if only I had these type of teachers, or if only I was privileged enough to have all these type of tutors and this, that, and the third, I wouldn't be as struggling. Like, I wouldn't be struggling as much as I am right now. I'm saying struggling in quotes, so it's struggling for me, but to some people it might sound like a pick me, like, oh, like you're getting a B and you want to cry. Like, yes, I got a B and I want to cry, because I know I don't give, like, I'm not a mediocre student. Like, I don't give B. Like, I give A and nothing but A minus on a bad day, but I know I don't give B. Like, I know my potential, and I know my potential is way higher than what I am right now, but I just have to do extra work to get to where I want to be. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a little mentally taxing, because like I said, this is my 13th year in education. I don't necessarily want it to get harder from here, because this should be my, like, in my brain, this is like my coast to law school, to my career, running through daisy fields, sunshine, and rainbows. And it's really just not like that, and I learned that very quickly. At this point where I'm filming right now, I don't have my final grades yet. I actually go back, this is actually Thanksgiving break where I'm filming. This is New York, my living room in New York, but I'm going back to college next week, and that's when we take our finals or whatever. I have one final exam and 4 essays, and then I'm done, and I get to see like my final grades. So hopefully they are as good as I want them to. I'm gonna try to push through the final stretch. I'm gonna try to make sure I have them straight A's. I might end up with a B plus, and that's not gonna be the end of the world, but it's the truth. Like, this is way harder, and I knew it was gonna be hard, but it still sucks when you feel like you had this perception of yourself in your mind, and then you get into a different environment and it's not really the case. And that's just kind of been a hard pill to swallow. I want to address the freshman 15, because I feel like people throw out this term a lot, but they don't really go into detail about what it actually means and how you even get to those 15 extra pounds your first semester. So if you've never heard the term before, freshman 15 is basically what people call the first semester or first year of college, where you put on an extra 15 pounds. From my perception, and just to throw it out there, I did not experience freshman 15. I experienced more like a freshman 7. You're going into a completely new environment, completely different food, completely different chefs, and it's a new menu. So it's not like you're at home and your mom cooks the same thing every day for you. Like, no. These are actual like people paid to cook and paid to make like relatively good meals for you. And like I said, the menu changes every day. Like, you're never eating the same thing every day. And also it alternates per week. So when I first got there, I was intrigued, because I want to see like I want to see what it's like. So I was just like eating. I was making sure I ate 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like I was making sure I got all 3 meals because that's how eager and that's how excited I was to see, like what they had to offer. So that's one, because I don't even eat like I didn't eat like that normally when I was at home. Like I didn't have time to eat all that. I was doing too much work. I was too busy with like all the things I was involved with in my high school to have 3 like full meals a day. But at Yale, like there's so many options to eat that you just want to eat because you want to see, like you want to know what everything tastes like. And like I said, the menu is not the same every day, and it's not even the same every week. So it's like, if I don't get this meal this Monday, then I might not have it for another 2 Mondays. And when you first get there, you're excited, like you want to see what everything tastes like. And then, just eating more than normal. I'm not even gonna lie, I felt like I was overeating. I was putting way too much on my plate the first few weeks there, like I said, just out of excitement. And me personally, on like a more vulnerable, kind of deeper level, but not too deep, because I don't gotta know my business like that. I always struggle with like weight and food, just because past experiences, Mean Girls in like middle and elementary school, certain family members, like things like that. Like I've always been super conscious about my body and my weight and like how much I've been eating. I don't know, I just kind of forgot about all of that when I got to Yale. And obviously overeating, like that's disordered eating. Like you're not supposed to overeat. That's why the freshman 15 is really just a sweeter way of saying the eating disorder that but like most students develop during their first semester or first year of college. If you don't have the mindset and like the strength and the discipline before you get here to know like, okay, I'm gonna portion, I'm gonna ration, I'm gonna calorie count, then when you get to college, is like that's how the pounds like catch on quickly. Luckily I stopped myself, one, because I have Yale assigned you like a primary care doctor. It's a part of my financial aid where I could basically go to the doctor, and I went to the doctor, one, to introduce myself so like he knows who I am, and two, to get like a regular yearly exam. And then I mentioned it to him, and he set me up with like a nutritionist, and I meet with her next Monday to like go over my disordered eating. I'm not gonna say eating disorder because I don't think it's to that extent. I'm not trying to be like a pick me, like, oh my god, like yeah, like I have an eating disorder. Like no, this is not what this is at all. I'm just being honest and transparent. Like I wasn't practicing the best eating habits when I first got here, and it made me gain a couple pounds. And then I got scared. I was like, oh no, you are too damn big right now. And I started going to the gym. I started eating less, and I'm kind of back at my weight that I was before I got to Yale. That's a freshman 15, and that's kind of how it starts, in my opinion. New environment, new food. You want to eat everything, you want to try everything, and the pounds just accumulate. And then now we're gonna go into social life at Yale, because it has been an experience. And I'm gonna say I had high expectations for the people like at my school. I had very high expectations because I just expected better. Like I expected more from Yale students. Like I don't even know why. Maybe like that was my mistake, but I just thought like, yeah, the Yale men, they're gonna be so much more mature. Like I put them on a higher pedestal than I put the guys like at my high school on, because I'm like these are Yale men. Like if they was locked in enough to get to Yale, then that means they have to be doing something right in life, where they're locked in with themselves, like they know themselves, they know what they want. Baby, I was sadly mistaken. The men at Yale, right? Keep in mind, this was when I was still in the mindset of like trying to find my Yale husband, because that's completely different. Like that's completely changed since then. But when I first got here, I just was thinking, okay, like they know what they want. Like they got to Yale, they're gonna be sophisticated, educated, mature, and then that just was not the case for a lot of them. And I've learned to give them grace, because a lot of them were very upfront, at least the ones I've spoken to, and they were just like, like I'm just not looking for anything serious right now, I don't want commitment, blah blah blah, or I don't really know what I want, things of that nature. And at first I was confused, because I'm like, I don't know how one doesn't know what they want in life. But then again, we're all in different phases of our life. We're all in different stages. We're all on different paths. So I don't know where these people are coming from. I don't know their history. I don't know what's making them so like reluctant to commit and like take someone serious. I don't know what's making them want to hop around and talk to 50 different women. I don't know what's going on. But that was just the overall sentiment when we got here, like as far as the men. And among the girls, at least some of the ones I've spoken to, we are predicting that they're all gonna not all, but we're predicting that a majority of them are just gonna, play around, talk to this girl, talk to that girl, blah, blah, blah. And then by like junior year, they're all gonna try to like lock in and like take dibs and like find their wife, and everyone's gonna try to get serious around like junior year and the sophomore year. It's just like, who wants to be with someone that by the time we end sophomore year or start junior year, all of them are going to be experienced. They're going to have experiences and stories with different girls, and then you're going to just be like another one, and you could be the one that they want to take serious, or you could be the one that they finally want to settle down with after 2-3 years. But still, there's going to be all these different girls that you know or know of you by that time. They're all going to have stories about your dude, and no one wants to go through that. So if you are applying to Yale, or if you're waiting to get into Yale, or if you're just curious about how the dating scene or the dating culture at Yale is, I'm a freshman, so I can only speak from the experience of our first year, but it's not any different than it would be if you weren't at Yale or if you were at like a different school. I can say that they are mature here. I can say that the Yale men are mature in a way, because they were very honest and open. Like, they were very much like, yeah, I don't want a commitment, I don't want anything serious, like I just want to have fun. And I feel like other boys at like other schools, they probably just would have led you on, or did what typical boys do. They play in your face, they tell you that they want something serious, they tell you they want a relationship. Whole time that's not what they really and actually and truly want. So if you are interested in a Yale husband, don't have your hopes up, please. And then transitioning into the social life at Yale, black culture at Yale, because I know that's a large like wondering that my friends and family at home have been like asking, do you feel like the only black girl, like how is it there? I will give it to Yale. They are a very diverse campus to be an Ivy League. Like, I have not walked into any space in my time here so far in the first 4 months and I've been the only black person. Like, no, there's always been multiple different races, ethnicities, backgrounds, sexual orientations, all of that in any room I've been in so far. There's never enough diversity. Like, there always should be more and more and more diverse people being accepted into these prestigious high schools. But at the end of the day, to be an Ivy League, a predominantly white institution, they're not doing terrible in terms of like diversity, equity, and inclusion. But like I said, there always could be more. What I will say is it looks a little bit more cohesive from like the older grades. And just to touch on that really quickly, the upperclassmen here have been very sweet, very helpful, very like big brother, big sister type. And that's not something I was really expecting, because when you walk into a space and like the older people or the older, like the seniors or the juniors or the upperclassmen, they always feel like there's not enough space for everyone, or they want to be number one, or they want to be like stay at the top. Like, no, the people, or at least the sophomores, juniors, and seniors that I've met, most of them, there's only like one that's been a little bit like a little mean, but a majority of them, like, they're very nice, they're very helpful, they're always down to answer your questions, they really take you under their wing, and I really appreciate that. But for my first year specifically, I genuinely don't feel like there's a strong black community here. Like, and I'm not talking about in terms of numbers, because in terms of numbers there is a lot of black students in my grade, but in terms of like how close we are, when I was first coming here, I'm thinking like, okay, and I think this is logical to like think and believe. But when I first was getting here, I'm thinking, okay, like this should be a mini HBCU among the black students. Like, we should be a community, we should be a family, we should hang out often, like as a whole, as Black Yale first years at that. Like, we should stick together. It should be like one. It should be a unit. It should be cohesive. And then that's just not what the vibe has given. It gives very much cliquey. I feel like not everyone, but I feel like there are certain, like, there's obvious like friend groups of people that stick to their same people every day that you always see them with, which is nothing wrong with that. But I just thought it would be more like one big happy family basically, and I was wrong. Maybe it's because it's our first semester and everyone's still trying to get acclimated and everyone's still trying to like settle in and find their like established friend groups first before we can all come together. But I really hope that coming together does happen, because like I said, right now it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like everyone is in their own world. That was very evident when we had like a black ceremony for like the black students. They gave us pins, and some grad students, some people gave speeches about how special and how important it is for us to be black students at a predominantly white institution, especially Yale, and how like remarkable, how amazing that is to even like have that title as a Yale student, as a black person. And at the pinning ceremony, a large portion of the black first years at Yale did not show up. Like, it was a ceremony for black freshmen to celebrate us for getting into Yale and like welcome us into the black community. And I would say a good amount of people did not come, and it's disheartening because the same people I'm seeing partying every weekend or out every weekend, you can't make it your business to come to a ceremony for black students. And I will give it to them. It was on a Sunday. It was during the time where some people were at church. But at the end of the day, like, this should be the one event that you don't want to miss, because this is something very important, very special. So when I saw a lot of the people, especially the black men, but I'm not. That's a whole nother situation. I don't know. I just saw a lot of like black people, black first years, black people in my grade missing from that event, and it really put into perspective like, oh, okay, like the black community isn't really a priority to a lot of them, because if it wasn't, you would have been there. And that's just how I see it. The same way you can get up and get dressed and go party every Saturday, every Wodes, every Wednesday, whatever you want to call it, is the same way you should have been right in that suit and tie, or right in that pretty dress with your hair done right, put together for the black first year ceremony. Like that's just how I feel. I don't know. It just doesn't really feel as like a mini HBCU as I thought it would be, and that's really sad, because it's like, who do we have if we don't have each other? Like, who can we really relate to, and who can we feel the safest with if we don't have each other? But like I said, it goes back to when I was talking about the men at Yale. You really don't know where these people are coming from. Like, they're coming from all different states, all different parts of the world at that. All different high schools. Like, a lot of them went to all white high schools, and it's very obvious. I'm not trying to say like they're whitewashed, because I don't think a lot of the black first year students are, at least the ones that I've met and like saw in action. But I do think like they don't really understand or prioritize the importance of black unity with other black students, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying like, oh, we all have to stick as one group and we have to shut out all other groups of students, because obviously that would be wrong, and that's a slippery slope for other more serious issues. But I just think like making sure we all know each other's name, making sure we all feel like included and like once again happy family, I feel like that should be a priority to black first years at Yale, and that's not really a big priority yet. Best believe the next episode I'm gonna get into how like making friends has been at Yale, because I'm not gonna lie, it's been terrible. The people I've met so far, like, I literally regret crossing paths with them. And it takes a lot for me to say that, but so much has happened socially, where socially I don't feel like I belong. And I thought me being black was going to be the issue, but all jokes aside, like, socially I don't feel like I belong. And it's a little early to say that, but it's just the truth. Like, I haven't found my people yet where I'm comfortable, where I feel like they genuinely like me for who I am, where I feel safe. Like, I've experienced a lot of the mean girl BS drama, 2 versus 1. But yeah, I'll get into that in the next episode, and I won't go too deep into it, because the purpose of this podcast is not to be messy, is not to like start anything or stir anything up. Like, no, I'm just trying to be honest and 100% transparent about what my experience has been like here. And I'm gonna say socially and like trying to make friends, it has been shitty. Like, it hasn't been good at all. And I'm gonna get into more of like who I live with, the loneliness I've been experiencing, but like I said, not having any friends, and the relationship with my parents, because it has been different since I got to college. Moral of the story, I just feel like my first year at Yale hasn't been going the best. Like, it hasn't been completely terrible, but it hasn't been completely like great either. And I know it's early to say, but I don't know. I'm just not really sure if I made the right choice yet. And that's kind of scary, because I don't know. When I was choosing a college and when I was applying to all these different schools, my main fear was committing and going somewhere where I would get there and I didn't feel welcomed, or I didn't feel accepted, or I didn't like settle in well, or I just didn't feel like I fit in there, and then wanting to transfer. Because I'm someone, like, I don't really like to do what I transfer in BS. As y'all know, I stayed in the school for 4 years where I knew it wasn't good for me by 10th grade. So I have a really big issue with like change and transferring, especially schools, when I'm like settled down and I went through all of this process to get here. But I'm not gonna lie, like, it doesn't feel like I'm not gonna say it doesn't feel like I made the right decision, because that's heavy to say, and I've only been here for 4 months. But I don't know, it just doesn't feel like what I thought it would feel like. My next episode, by that time I'll have my like official grades for my first semester, and I'll be able to give you guys like a full like rundown of what classes I took, ratings of my professors, like how all of that was. And like I said, I'll touch on my living situation and like the disastrous friendships that I've had. That was that for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and turn that bell on so you are notified every single time I upload a video at Silence Pod. And then Spotify also is Silence the Podcast. And yes, like I said, thank you guys for all the love and support on episode 1. Thank you for the reshares, the reposts, and the people that have reached out. Congratulate me on this new endeavor, on this new journey, because it has been something.